Hello, how's it going? How are you? I hope you're doing fantastic. I really do. I'm doing good, if you care to know. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. In today's video, I will be talking to you or sharing with you all the books that I read for the month of August. Virgo season did pass. It was my birthday month, and I read absolutely not a lot of books. Oh, it was quite a busy time. So anyways, you guys, if you're interested to know, please don't go anywhere.
Comment down below, let your thoughts fly. Subscribe, hit that button. Let's grow together. Share with your friends through any kind of weather. Library without borders, we're reaching for the sky. Join the journey now, come on, don't be shy.
Jambo, Karibu, welcome to my channel. My name is Chilanda and this is Library Without Borders. Anyways, you guys, so as I mentioned, I will be talking to you about all the books that I read in the month of August. Now, we're September, we're about to hit October, and I'm filming this, I think it's, September 28th, if I'm not mistaken. I am not sure that I remember all the books that I read in the month of August. So hopefully I've taken notes and I can rapid fire summarize the stories for you, because not only do I not want to spend too much time talking about certain books, simply because I did film a vlog during the month of August, which hubby is working on. In that vlog, I talk a bit more in details about the books that I was reading during that month in that vlog. So in this wrap up, I will try my best to go through these books real quick so as not to bore you, okay? All right. But before I get into that, I want to welcome every single one of you who are new on my channel. It means the world to me that you found yourself on my side of the world and you decide to subscribe. Thank you so much for helping this channel grow. And for those people who've been with me since the beginning, who've been writing with me, all you booktubers as well who actually have your own channels, but then you do take your time to actually watch me. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much and welcome. Always, you are welcome. Okay, if you guys haven't watched the video that I just posted, it was a video that I filmed in May. Yeah, if you didn't give it a watch, please give it a watch, because as you can tell, it took us a long time to work on it. I was very emotional in that book, in that video, and as much as Bae tried to remove some parts, leave some parts, so to remain authentic to the video, y'all saw that I was really affected by that book. So I don't want to talk about it. I just want to encourage you guys to watch the video, because we try to make it into a little documentary, a little project. So we did research. This thing was not we're not in school, we're not in university where we have to research these things. We just did it for our own personal knowledge, and we want to share with you. So again, if you haven't checked that video, please, I'll link it somewhere here, and go ahead and watch it. All right, without further ado, let's see how many books. Of course, I know. What does my reading journal say? So for the month of August, I wanted to read 8 books. I managed to read only, let's see, so this is all the books that I've read so far. My goal for this year was to read 105 books. Am I on the path to achieve the set goal? I don't know. At the rate that I'm reading, I don't even think I'll make it 100. But so far, I'm at 69. So far, I'm at 69. Actually, 70 books. I've read 70 books because I'm listening to one and I have yet to complete it. So if you can see here, I'm at 69. Like I said, I'm listening to an audio that I haven't added here. So for the month of August, I read The Book of Lost Friends, Follow Me to Africa, This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, Remembrance by Rita Woods, The Girls of Good Fortune, The Day She Disappeared. Wow. And I started breaking the Mafa chain. I just finished it in September, not too long ago. So I'm not going to count it for August. So technically I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 books out of the 8 books that I had set myself to read. Okay, so first book, let's talk about the Book of Lost Friends. I actually rated that book 4 star. So as you can see here, the Book of Lost Friends, I rated it 4 stars. Let me see if I can remember. So Benny Silva. The Book of Lost Friends was written by Lisa Wingate. Wingate. Here it is, and I actually enjoyed this book. And in this book, we follow 2 main characters. You have the teacher, Louisiana. We have Honey and Lavinia, and then you have in Louisiana Benedetta Silva. So you follow 2 different timelines. Okay, so first I started with Benny Silva, and Benny Silva, she's a teacher, and it's during 1987. 1987. I was born in 1987. So, but apparently, there's still a bit of that racial tension during that time. So she goes to this school. She's coming from a different town. She settles there in Louisiana in 1987 to teach. And the school where she teaches is mostly these Black children, and they're not well off in society. During that time, it's mostly poverty-stricken Black families. And where she lives near a cemetery, and that cemetery, there are a bunch of this family. What's this family called? Buried there, including people who are descendant of enslaved people. What's that family name? I'm gonna remember the name. I must have written the name. Gossett. Honey Gossett. Okay, Gossett. Gossett is the family name, and basically she will discover, once she settles and starts to teach all these children, she takes on this project about discovering the history of the town, including the cemetery and the people there. And in doing that, she will meet this recluse white owner of this abandoned mansion, where apparently it used to be owned by this white family that owned enslaved people. And obviously the people around there don't like to talk about that history, so it's very hush hush. And her coming to teach in that school and wanting to basically wake the past ghosts will stir up trouble in that city. So that's what's going on in 1987 with Benedetta Silva. And then you go back in time in 1875, where you meet Honey Gossett. Honey Gossett is an enslaved girl, and she has a half sister who's Creole. And I actually enjoyed the banter between the half Creole girl and Honey. Her name is Lavinia, and the story between her, Lavinia, Honey Gossett, and they have another sister who's purely white. Purely white, obviously. Y'all can just imagine what happened with the enslaver, the enslaved, and the children, and the wife, the mistress. So you can understand that there's a white sister, a half Creole sister, and a pure enslaved girl who's Honey, who shares the blood with all these women. So long story short is that she follows Lavinia. Lavinia is basically on a hunt to find her father, who's the white enslaver of that plantation, the Gossett plantation, and she's looking for him because he has papers. I think he's trying to, what is it? Not emancipate her. What's that? Give her what is it? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those papers that set you free. And then on that journey, what happens is that where you discover the whole story of the Book of Friends is that they will get into a church, and in that church they will discover these news clippings where people are looking for their family members. And I can show you, she has a bit of she has actually the real story of the city at the end of the book here, but I'm gonna show you some of the chapters where you can see. So most chapters have these clippings of real people who were looking for their family members. So before I continue, let me just read you one clipping. Miss Sally Crump of Marshall, Texas, desired information of her children, Amelia, Baker, Harriet, and Eliza Hall, Teresa, Matilda Rogers, owned and raised by John Baker of Abingdon, Washington, CO, Virginia. Sally Crump was taken to Mississippi 15 or 20 years before the surrender by David Vance, and from there was brought to Texas and has since resided in Marshall. Any information leading to the discovery of these long-lost children will bring gladness to a worthy mother's heart. So all the chapters, y'all, they have, most of the chapters, she has clippings. So where you don't see those clippings, it's the chapters where it's current time with Benedetta Silva. But the ones with Honey Gosset, she usually has the clippings. There's another one here, another one here. So anyways, like I said, so they go into that church, they see this information. So she gets an idea. She wants to find her mom. So what happened is that, like you guys know, during that time, a lot of the family members were separated, were sold to different plantations, all that stuff. So she is looking for her mother and her sibling, I believe. At the same time, she's also following her half Creole sister, Lavinia, with the mistress daughter, who went somewhere, had business with the wrong kind of people. Something happens to the mistress daughter, like the white daughter, and from then on, you guys, like, without telling you the story, from then on it is trouble. So Honey Gosset would be responsible for taking care of these two women in a time where you're not supposed to be walking alone, without any papers, without any enslaver around, and her journey will be fraught with scary things. I mean, but it was a fantastic book because you see how some of these people, especially through the clippings, were looking for the family members, and you do have a little bit of some reunion, but not most, and you wonder if Honey Gosset was able to find her family members. Now, you guys, I can't tell you that. Also, as I said, an accident, not an accident, but like something does happen to the mistress daughter. And again, I can't tell you what, but you guys have to read the book. Like, it's a 4-star read. I was really invested in the book, and I really enjoyed the two different times. As for the teacher, once she does have that project, and once she uncovers certain things in that abandoned mansion through its grand library, like she goes into that library, it has dust and all that stuff, and what she discovers is that whole, it's like a red book, usually covered with the Bible. I don't know if you guys know, but like back then, these enslavers would write the information of their properties, you know, the colors, the skin, the age, where they, you know, their property, all the property information, they will keep it like in a Bible, but like in a folder. So she finds that folder, and then she finds like all this information, and everybody's upset about it, including like people want, like, you know, to you know, because they don't want these things to be uncovered. There was also a little love interest with the guy who owns the mansion, the abandoned mansion, and yeah, you guys, like it, I enjoyed the story. It was a very good story, and I would definitely recommend. Let me just conclude this one with a few quotes. You guys know I love quotes, and so this part, this part is actually heartbreaking. It's the day she's at the auction with her mom, and that's the day she's taken away from her mom. Yeah, I always did wonder if him being so fond of Juno Jane, was the reason his children with Mrs. turned out so wrong. There's something wrong with the Mrs. daughter. I can't tell you, but like, I thought that was funny. Oh yeah, so Honey Gosset didn't know how to read, and I like this part where she says, like, she's seeing all these writings, all these clippings, and she's like, I want to know how to look at the scratch marks up there and turn them into people and places. Again, right? Like, sometimes when I read these books about Black people who didn't read then, I've always said it fuels that much more love for reading, especially as a Black person. So, all right, let's see another last quote. Oh yeah, this is from the teacher, the teacher Silva. I'm trying to impress upon my students that everyone has history. Just because we're not always happy with what's true doesn't mean we should know it. It's how we learn. It's how we do better in the future. Hopefully, anyway. If I could sum up why I read history, she said it perfectly. It's how we learn. It's how we do better in the future. Hopefully, right? So anyways, so it was a 4-star read, And yeah. Next, I read Follow Me to Africa by Penny Hall. So that was actually one of those mystery books that I told you I wanted to. It was going to be a mystery book that was going to be unveiled in my wrap up. So I read Follow Me to Africa. It was an audio. It was part of my new releases, and I thought it was an okay story. It was a 3 star. You can see that it was a 3 star. And I said the story, written in dual time, follows two main characters, Mary Leakey and Grace. Mary, who grows up in the 30s, aspires to be an archaeologist, paleontologist, and she falls for Louis, who is a married man. They decide to take a trip to Africa, precisely in Kenya, Tanganyika. And that's basically where you discover the story of Mary Leakey. And I think it's actually a true story. The author I read said that it was based on a true story. So exactly what I said. You know, she wants to be an architect during the 1930s. Y'all know how women were seen back then. They were seen as women, you know, needed to be home, have family, get married, all that kind of stuff. And she was not about that life. So she decides to, first of all, she was learning from this guy, Louis, because he's way older. I think he was like 10 or 20 years older than her. And she becomes his secretary because she was really good at drawing. And he was working on this book about, like, I don't know, old species, you know, like archaeology stuff, right? And then he needed someone to depict pictures of these specimens. Hence comes Mary Leakey. And she's young, she's fresh out of university, and something develops between her and him. And she knows he's married, and he has, like, I think 2 children. She don't care about that, and they start this torrid affair. And she goes to her mom and says, you know what, Mom, I'm gonna marry this guy and we're gonna go and move to Africa. And she goes to Africa and lives in Kenya. Then you meet Grace. Grace is 17 and she's brought to Africa by her father. She has an estranged relationship with her father. There she will meet Mary, Lisa, and finally discover what transpired between her parents. The book is heavy on digs and research about fossils and the first humans. There you go. Those are my notes. So yeah, this girl, there's no relation between her and Mary Leakey, except that present time, she's with her dad. Her mom passed away. Her mom was sick. And while her mom was sick, apparently her dad was not there. So I can't give you the reasons why her father wasn't there, but it does get explained almost at the end what happened, what transpired between her mom and her dad, because she harbors this animosity against her dad because she thinks that her dad abandoned her mom in her most vulnerable time when she was sick, and she had to take care of her mom, and she also had to stop school. So anyways, so Africa is this, precisely Kenya, is this place where they will rekindle their father-daughter relationship. And there she meets Mary Leakey, who she becomes her mentor. Mary Leakey becomes her mentor. And then Lisa is this cheetah that they adopt. So she comes to the compound where they are. She's important because this girl will fall in love with Africa, Kenya. At first she's 17, you know, she's reluctant to go into the hot weather of Kenya, but then she finds herself, while following Mary Leakey, was, you know, all about animals, was all about archaeology, and she discovers a lot of things. And Lisa is this cheetah who has this neck, you know those research thing, but it's like bruising her neck, and then she's all about wanting to fix her and do everything for her, and at the same time she's also learning to repair the relationship with her dad. So, you know, like I said, it was heavy on fossils, on research, and the relationship between Mary Leakey and Louis when they were young, until they got older, until they had children, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So for a new release, it was okay. It was a 3-star. It was a 3-star for me. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't boring. It was okay. It was good. I would recommend. I said yes, I would recommend. So I'm like, my favorite character was Lisa, the cheetah. There. So next I read This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. And I'm not going to go into too much details about that one because I do speak about the book in my vlog, and I actually do conclude in that vlog. But obviously all of you have read the book This Could Be Us. everybody, so I don't need to get into it, but I do want to mention this simple fact is that this book came at the right time because it speaks about autism, and you guys know that Kennedy Ryan has spoken a lot about autism. I think she does have a son who's on the autistic spectrum, and so that was heavily explored in the book. And in terms of the romance per se, it was good. It wasn't like the romance books that I've read from Kennedy Ryan, like, Long Shot or Real, those, or even Blood. What is it? The second one, Hookshot or Block? I think it's Blockshot. I think Blockshot with a Spanish girl. I think that one was heavy on the set, but like it was good. This could be us explore Soledad's journey in self-discovery and self-dating and self-loving, after her relationship with that white guy kind of went to dust because he was involved in some fraudulent activities at where he worked, and Soledad had sacrificed all her years in order for him to basically, work, finish school and all that stuff, only for him to turn around and be like, oh my gosh, your vagina is loose and blah, blah, blah. Like, who says that to the mom of your kids? Even if you have a fallout, can we still respect one another? Like, can we respect one another? So that was quite insolent and absolutely terrifying. But the comeback was good. There was a line. I don't have the book. Oh yeah, I lended the book to I lended the book to my neighbor, but there was a line. So I can't actually read quotes to you guys, but there was a few quotes that I wanted to share with you guys. But I did love her comeback. I did appreciate her journey in self-discovery, how she had a YouTube channel where she was really into foods, right? She into like Spanish food and stuff like that. I liked the relationship with her and her daughters. There was one of, I think, the oldest, who I was like, okay, calm down, calm down. I'm the mom here, I'm the parent here, and yeah, I know your dad, you love your dad, but like he fucked up, you know what I mean? And you gotta accept that. So, one of the daughters, and I want to say I can understand, we're reluctant to accept that, the mom not only brought that upon their dad, she's the one, and also is dating the person who, all of that stuff. It was a little messy, but it all worked out, okay? It all worked out, and like I said, it was a good book. I learned a lot about autism. I've seen a couple of, I guess around me, people talk about it, like, I have family members, who deal with that. So it was really good to see how she explored it in the book. So anyways, like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much because I already talked about it in my vlog that you will soon be able to see eventually. Okay, so that was that, and I think it was a 4-star. Let me just make sure. This could be us. It was actually 375. Right there, this could be us. It was 375. So the next I read Remembrance by Rita Woods. So this book right here, I enjoyed this book. I also talked about it in my vlog, so I do not want to go into too much details about this book, but it's what I write. Let me see if I wrote something. Okay, so Remembrance, a place at the edge, that's what a question mark, the Underground Railroad, a version of the Underground Railroad. Margot made it. I say she made it. She invented the edge. That's how they call it in the book. And with the help of woman Abigail, we follow several women during enslavement and their journey to freedom in a place called Remembrance, their gift and how they use them to fight off the enslavers. That's what I wrote. So there's a bit of supernaturalism in the book. I said written in dual timeline, the story explores magic realism as well as the power of women during a time where Black people were seen as property. I enjoyed the Creole references, the character development of each one. Some aspects were hard to read. Obviously, some, slave narratives, you can expect that. But what can I say, you guys? Like I said, I talk a lot about this book in my vlog, but just know that it's 375. right there. It's 375. It was very interesting. I did love the narration of the book. I think it added, because I think they're based in Haiti, and they do travel in, like, I think it's Carolina, like somewhere in the United States, but I talk about it in my blog. So I love the French references, the Creole references. It was really nice. So 375 out of 5, I recommend. So next I read The Girls of Good Fortune, and that book reminded me of the book. Where is it, you guys? It's that book about the Chinese Exclusion Act. What is that book? Where is it? Why can't I find it? My god, I dislike it. You guys, Four Treasures of the Sky. This book here, Four Treasures of the Sky by Jenny Tingui Zhang. Okay, so this was during the time where, you know, Chinese were being persecuted by white Americans in the United States. The Girls of Good Fortune, I also speak of that book in my vlog. And funny enough, when I was trying to conclude the vlog on my birthday, I completely forgot the title of the book. But I do want to own it. I actually want to own it, because most of these books, and this was also a new release of mine, I don't own most of the new release books, except for that Kennedy Ryan that came out, and I think Edge. 2 books on my whole list of new releases that I own physically, but most of them I just downloaded them on Audible and listened to them and decide if I want to own them. Okay, but essentially I said the American West, 1885. Is it Oregon and Wyoming? So the American West, 1885, Oregon and Wyoming. Okay. Cecilia, who's half Chinese, must navigate through a time in which being Chinese was a death sentence. While working as a maid for for the people, she falls in love with her white son. Consequently, when he leaves for school, she finds herself pregnant and thrown out by the guy's parents. So my review: Cecilia, with nowhere to go but a brothel, will have to learn to survive with her child in a world cruel to people like her. What kind of English is that? When she hears of a horrible event where many Chinese people were killed in gruesome fashion, she'll have to make a choice in pursuing justice or simply ignore calamity. So I have to read this because I couldn't remember. It's in August, you guys. I have recent stories that are like taking space in my head, so I'm sorry if I'm reading my notes, but it's a way for me to remember and, you know, briefly speak to you guys about it. But I speak about it in my vlog, so again, I'm not going to get into details about it. It was a 375 out of 5 for me. What I want to, I guess, mention in this wrap up is that it was really hard learning about some terms that she would mention, and at first I didn't really like the way the author narrated the story. I don't know, I wasn't a fan of her voice, but after a while I just kind of got used to it, and then, you know, got focused more on the story. So the author would talk how Chinaman is more of an insult, but Irishman is not. Do you understand? And she talks about the difference between the two, and she talked about that there was an event where a lot of Chinese people were brutally killed. When I say brutally killed, machete were used on innocent people because they were Chinese. Anyways. And also the fact that she had a baby with, she was working at this white family home, at this white family's home. She was working there as a maid, and, you know, she falls in love with the son, who was also in love with her. And unfortunately, he had to go to school, and he didn't know of her pregnancy until he left. But then she finds herself pregnant. She does tell the parents that it's your grandson. They refuse to believe it, and then kind of throw her out, they bring her to a brothel where she will become friends with the people who do that kind of job, but she didn't do that job. She was there as a maid, like a cleaning maid and all that stuff. And once she gets pregnant, you know, all the women there will help her and all that stuff. And yeah, I thought the story was really good. It was, like I said, it was one of my new releases, and I enjoyed it. I speak more about it in my vlog. So next I read, was that all? The Day She Disappeared. So The Day She Disappeared was actually a free Audible. Let me just read you guys a little bit of the synopsis because I can't remember. And yeah, it was on Audible. It's a story that's actually set in South Africa, and it's in the category of true crime, and precisely in Joburg. And I think that's why I actually picked it up, because it was South Africa, Joburg, and thinking about Tyler. Never mind. But anyways, let me just read you guys a little bit just to kind of recall the story. So it's Johannesburg, 1980 apartheid in South Africa. Augustine flees her vengeful ex-boyfriend with nothing but her child and the clothes on her back, terrified he will find her. Her ex-boyfriend is white, by the way, and she's colored. And yes, my friends, here she's called colored. She's not black. She's them, descendant of Indians. She's called colored. So because she also possesses a dangerous secret, one he will kill for, one he will never stop hunting her for. But Augustine is rescued by a wealthy white housewife who takes pity on her, offering both employment and refuge, or so she thinks. It might seem that she is safe inside the walls of the prosperous Diamond family home, but outside her every move is watched. Her sanctuary has become her prison. In this city where trust is a rare commodity, Augustine has made a mistake that could cost her everything. This absolutely gripping crime thrill is perfect for fans of Dion Mayer, J.M. Coetzee, Chris Hammer, Jane Harper, Chris Whitaker, or Paul Mendelsohn. Anybody who loves these people, there you have it. I have no idea who these authors are, but maybe I will eventually discover them. But that's the story, and it was fast-paced. At the beginning it was a bit slow. You follow this investigator. He's white, okay? I enjoy the English of Johannesburg. You guys watch South African movies, you know how those descendant of the Dutch people speak, right? So anyways, yeah, so you follow this investigator officer who's looking for Augustine, because the ex-boyfriend went to seek his services, and he's like, I need to find her. I need to find her. She has my baby. But that's not really what he wants to find her. Like you guys heard, she has some things that can damage his career. And this ex-boyfriend of Augustine, he's a teacher. So just think teacher, students, damaging thing. Did I get your attention there? Okay. So that's what Augustine has. And she's threatening to give it to everyone if he doesn't do this. And you follow this investigator during apartheid in these neighborhoods that are dangerous. It's like Johannesburg, and sometimes he goes in the neighborhoods that are only for black people or non-whites. It's segregation then. And yeah, and there's killings, there's all kinds of stuff that you find in a true crime. So like I said, it was fast-paced. It was really interesting. Where's my journal? What did I read this book? I didn't write it down. So it was really good. I would recommend, and I think it'd be $3.75. It was a free Audible, and it was $3.75. And the ending, I wasn't satisfied with the ending, you guys. I have to say that. The ending was what do you mean? It just finished abruptly. So I'm not sure if it did finish on a cliffhanger. So I'm thinking maybe there will be a part 2, because it really didn't make sense. There was no closure, there was no conclusion, there was no swift revenge, there was nothing. There was they were still searching for Augustine, and the story ends what's up? So anyways, you guys, I would recommend that story. It was really interesting. Okay, so I think those are the stories I read for the month of August. I missed out again. I didn't finish reading, obviously, because I wanted to read 8 books. I didn't get to those 8 books, which now they've fallen behind. Now I'm interested in other books. Okay, so anyways, you guys, that's the end of my wrap up. I hope I have summarized fast enough. I don't know if you guys have read any of these books, or if you will read them based on my humble review of them. Just comment below. Let me know what let me know what you're gonna do. So on this note, you guys, I hope you do enjoy this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I've done my conclusion, and I will see you in my next video.